So the 55, Mum and Dad thought that we would stay because the 49 flood, we only had 2 foot of water in, so they decided that they'd stay and sweep the water out as it was going down. Despite efforts from the police came along and the army to try and get us out, but they were quite adamant they wanted to stay. So the people across the road were called by the family Braziers, so their house was a lot higher than ours, so after packing all the furniture up on over the 2 foot level, we decided to go over and sit on their veranda and watch everything happen. So Mum had packed a nice basket of sandwiches. She was always good with the food. And over we went. And while we were sitting there, there were people that had only moved in up the road about 500 metres by the name of Edwards, and they hadn't experienced any floods at all. So Mum thought that perhaps we should go and ask them to come down and join us on the veranda until the water went down. So my sister and myself went up, and look, when we left, the water was at our ankles, and by the time we brought them, they were elderly people and their daughter and her baby. The water was up to our knees, and we thought, oh, this is a bit strange. So Braziers or Dad, someone said, well, perhaps we better get a ladder and get ready to get up on the roof if we need be. So it was one of those big old wooden ladders, you know, great big long things. So I'm sure we were only there about half an hour, and the water just came so quickly. So we had to scurry up. There were 17 of us altogether. So we scurried up onto the roof, and we could see houses up where Judy lived further up being swept away. So we thought, we could feel Brazier's house moving. So we thought perhaps, or the parents thought, that we should go across to the next house, which belonged to the Turnbull family, and sit on there. It'd be safer than just being on this weatherboard house. So we put the ladder from one house to the other, and it was probably about 6 feet away. Like in the old days, the houses weren't as close as what they are today. So I had to go across first. I was only 14, but must have been a bit brave, I think. So over I went, and I held the ladder on the other side till we all got across. And it was still raining, and we thought, well, night time was coming, so that we'd better, do something about getting some, just get out of the rain, I suppose. So they pulled the tin off the roof, and at that time, after that was being done, my sister, next to me, Ruth, knocked the basket into the water that had the sandwiches and the torch and all the things that Mum had prepared. But anyway, she wasn't very popular at the time. But we're like Judy, we had to sit in on the rafters, and my younger sister was only 6 at the time, and poor Mum, she wouldn't get off Mum's knee, and she sat there all night, so consequently Mum couldn't move. But we heard all the cries of people around us that were cooing, and we thought, well, we're not the only ones in this situation. So we just had to be patient, and Dad wanted to swim, mind you, through the torrent and see if he'd get some help, but he was convinced not to. So that morning, I couldn't tell you what time it was, the surf boat started to arrive. So they took part of us first, half a dozen or 10 perhaps, and then came back and got the others. And we too were transported to Cobbs Hill, where then we were taken to Maitland Hospital. And then we had relatives up in Talara, so we were fortunate enough to be able to go and stay with them. And then it was probably a few days. We had Mum's grandmother lived in Bulwer Street, and of course we didn't know whether she was safe or what was happening, but fortunately her house, along with Elgin Street, a lot of that, and Church Street, is very high, and that wasn't flooded. So we went down there, and we stayed with her for possibly 6 weeks or so, because things were not good. And in the meantime, after the water did subside, we went back to our house, and it was just utter devastation. Like the mud, like Ron said, was up to the windowsills, and there was all our furniture and everything just there. And you didn't realise as a kid, I mean, we lost things, our possessions from when we were smaller, but what our mum and dad must have gone through, it must have been just awful to just look at their whole life taken away. But anyway, we had ourselves, so that was the main thing. It was coming in waves. That was the thing. Once you got on that roof and you could see those waves, it was like the ocean. It was unbelievable. So that was obviously when Cummins's dam broke. But before that, we'd be running backwards and forwards to the riverbank checking and, running back home and telling Mum and Dad how high it was. They weren't particularly worried, I don't think, because of the 49. I think that's why so many people were stranded, because, 49 wasn't as devastating. And, so that was unfortunate. But anyway. Well, that would have been coming over when we went to get the Edwards family. It would have been coming over slowly, so I couldn't tell you what time it was, but that happened before the break. And see, that's what we thought. We'd be right. We'd just sit on that veranda and it wouldn't have even reached the veranda on the 49 level, but once you could see it rising faster, well, we had to then go to get a ladder and get up onto that roof. Yeah, so that's about it, I think. It was horrifying, but we were lucky that, we weren't hurt at all. The people that were washed away, it must have been dreadful.